But we're going to talk a little bit more about the economy and about Europe's economy and the challenges ahead for Hollande, because we've had some new figures on the economy which show that this new president has a very tough task ahead of him. Overall, the French economy did not grow during the first quarter of 2012. Those figures just released this morning. The French central bank expecting the economy to continue to stagnate through June. Now, France's neighbour Germany did do slightly better than expected, but still only grew by 0.5%. Let's bring in Thomas Costerg, an economist with the Standard Chartered Bank, and he joins us live from London. A big day for France politically, Thomas, but economically things are really still in the doldrums.
Yes, indeed, growth is slowing down in France, so that's not good news in terms of economic backdrop. But worse is the situation in the periphery, especially in Italy and Spain, where GDP continue to decline there. So that's a very worrying situation in the periphery. France is doing slightly better, and Germany continues to power ahead.
Hollande certainly has got his work cut out for him. Do you believe that the policies that he's laid out in his campaign, his socialist approach, is going to be a good thing for France?
Well, now there's a growing consensus that more growth is needed, and certainly after this morning's data on GDP, we now see that more growth is indeed needed. I think that's probably a good news for Europe, but having said this, it's a question of how you stimulate growth, and then there are still many questions to be answered on this front. The consensus now in Europe is now that deficit targets are likely to be relaxed, so that's good news for France. The fiscal consolidation will not be as tough as expected, but this comes as you still have a very weak economic backdrop, and it will be very tough to cut deficits in this environment.
It's good news for France, especially because it was just on Friday, wasn't it, that Brussels projected that the deficit target for France in 2013 would be 4.2% instead of the 3% that the rules dictate. So, in a way, the EU leaders have no choice but to relax these targets.
Well, it's also a question of growth. Hollande's growth projections are quite optimistic, and we fear that most risks are to the downside in terms of forecast for France. France is affected by the European debt crisis. There is still a low confidence. You have still big banking sector issues, and you have also still a fiscal consolidation that is weighing on growth. So you can expect a very weak growth this year, and this could impact the deficit targets.